A new proposed college football playoff format is incredible for the Auburn Tigers, although I'm not sure it's great for college football.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Lindsay Crosby of the barn, auburn.com, hanging out with us on today's edition of the show. Auburn Baseball sweeps over the weekend. We'll get to that towards the end of the show, and we tackle a fun question, predicting which game Auburn will become bowl eligible this season. But let's open things up, Lindsay, with a big topic that took the college football world by storm over the weekend. A new potential college football format has been proposed, and it sounds like it's been discussed based on reports from Ross Dellinger and Pete Thamel, expanding to 16 teams, which this seems inevitable. It's just, what's it going to look like when they get to 16 teams, and how long is it going to take to get there? But early reports from Dellinger saying that the automatic bids will be beefed up by conference. 4 qualifiers automatically for the SEC, 4 for the Big Ten, 2 for the ACC and Big 12, 1 G6, and then 3 at large. And obviously, Lindsay, if the SEC were to get 4 automatic bids into the playoff every single year with 3 at large every single year, I mean, it's incredible. That's an incredible situation for the Auburn Tigers, as well as just everybody in the SEC.
Yeah, it gives you plenty of opportunities to get guys in, to get that money. I don't think people kind of think about this as it's $1.3 billion annually that ESPN's paying to broadcast these games. And so you can get 4 teams in there. That is even more money that does go to everybody in the conference. So we talk about all the changes coming in college football with paying players and all of that. Getting a bigger slice of that giant $1 billion pie is good from a cash flow perspective, but then also the opportunity to be able to play for a national championship. All at the end of the day, all we really ever want is the opportunity to decide it on the field. And expanding to 16 teams and having 4 spots for the SEC plus qualifying for an at-large is going to help you do that.
Yeah, and one of the things that Ross Dellinger added to his reporting and some of his posts on X over the weekend is with season-ending interleague play-in games, 3rd place playing 6th place, 4th place playing 5th place, and what I assume is the SEC and the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. And we're just looking at a world where, okay, if you can finish top 6 in the SEC, you have a chance. I'm not saying it's likely and it's the best path, but if you're 6 in the conference with this proposed model that's reportedly gaining some steam, if you finish 6 in the SEC, you've got a chance to play, one, for a spot in the playoff, but also, if you don't lose another game, you win the national championship.
And again, that's all you can really ask for. And like going back and looking at some of the seasons in the SEC and who would have done that, right? Like it's really interesting to think about in lieu of an SEC championship game that arguably doesn't really matter anymore.
Right.
You can get 2 really good matchups on that same weekend where teams can play for a chance to contend for a national championship. I think you actually kind of looked at the standings and figured out who the matchups would be.
Yeah, so this past year, it would have been Tennessee, who finished 3rd in the conference, was a playoff team, playing Ole Miss.
Okay.
And then 2 teams that did not make the playoff, Alabama, who was 4th due to tiebreakers, over LSU, who was 5th. And like at surface value, when you say, okay, you lose the SEC championship showdown that is Texas and Georgia, 2 heavyweights, but you replace it with these 2 matchups with so much on the line, because there really wasn't that much on the line when you looked at what Georgia and Texas were playing for. I think it's fine. I think it makes a ton of sense. I think it makes a ton of sense to like, okay, if you could just get a double header of what essentially are playoff games. I love that. And then I guess you just point to, the SEC regular season determining who the SEC champion is. I don't love that. Honestly, I don't love it. But as far as like the games we'll get to see, the product is better. And then it also, obviously, this is an Auburn show, how it impacts Auburn. I do think Auburn has a shot to compete to be a top 6 team in the SEC. I mean, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I think the big thing, kind of going back and looking at the college football playoff rankings since 2014 or so, Auburn, the SEC has had 5 teams, they've averaged 5 teams a year in the top 16. So you could be in a situation where even if you're one of the play-in teams, like one game could have both teams in the playoff. If let's say number 3 gets knocked off by number 6,
mm-hmm.
3's got a really strong resume, they could still make the playoff as one of the final seeds because it's going to be 16 teams and there are 3 at-large bids. And I think one of the at-large bids is put aside for Notre Dame if they're in that point of the standings. So if they're not, maybe there's another option there. So even if you just get into the top 6 seeds, even if you don't necessarily win that play-in game, you could still be in based on everything else that you do. So the regular season does matter, but it's not necessarily a win or go home situation because you could make the playoff anyway.
Yeah. And the expansion of the college football playoff from 4 to 12, I originally didn't think it would help the regular season. And I was very wrong on that towards the end of last year. I mean, there were several matchups where it's like, this has major playoff implications. So I like that. I think if this is the case, it expands to that. I just think it's great for Auburn fans if this is to happen. It's great for SEC fans and Big Ten fans. Is it great for all of college football? I don't know. But if you're Auburn, if you're a member of the SEC, I think you have to just kind of say, who cares? Who cares? It's better for me. There's more people watching SEC football and Big Ten football than anywhere else. Sorry. Join his better conference. And I guess that's where you kind of tip your cap to, what Greg Sankey has done in his leadership. And he he has no issue flexing the SEC's accomplishments at media days every single July. And he'll do it again in a few months over in Atlanta. We'll be there. But it's just, I don't know. I'm a little surprised that everybody else seems to be okay with this. I'm glad that they are. Once again, it's good for Auburn. It's good for every member of the SEC. And I'm glad that you brought up the money aspect of it too, because it's more than just competing for a championship. It's how much money you bring it in this era where all of these schools are about to have to dish out way more money and really impact their cash flow with all of these settlements and court stuff and legislation revolving NIL. So it's great for the conference, the SEC and the Big Ten. It's just, is it going to be a situation where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? And we just need to be thankful that we're in the right boat. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think overall more access is typically a good thing until you reach a tipping point, and we're far away from that, right? Expanding the NCAA tournament in basketball, anything farther than 64 teams is too much. And a lot of people will argue, I think incorrectly, but they'll argue that 64 schools is too many because you have so few upsets in the first round. 16 seeds almost never win. But in this, it's very likely that you will see more upsets because 1, football is just more subject to that randomness kind of thing. But 2, you're not going too far with this. 16 teams, I think is fine. I would rather have a small...
Well, there was a discussion of 16 as soon as we hit 12.
Yeah. And it's whenever you have buys, I think you end up to the whole thing about competitive advantage and stuff like that. Is it more fair to have a 1 play a 16 or have the 1 not have to play at all? And then they get the winner of the next matchup, right?
Yeah.
But I do think that, just the ability to win and you're in, I think this is nothing but a good thing. Everybody plays. There are no buys. Think about the money involved for a school getting to host a first round matchup. That wasn't a thing that the top teams got. There was a little bit awkward of setup with that, but nothing but a good thing. They're talking about the SEC should get around $23 million per school under the new setup.
That's crazy.
Let's go.
That's crazy. And just a reminder, all 4 teams that had a bye last year lost their playoff game. So,
hey, what did Alabama do in their playoff game?
like us, they did not make the playoff last year.
I just heard so much about how great their team was.
However, in this new format, they would have had a shot. They would have had a shot at it. So we'll see. Like I said, it's good for Auburn. It's good for everybody in the conference. So, let's predict which game Auburn will become bowl eligible this season. Okay. I got a feeling we're going to stay like 1 or 2 within the same 2 or 3 weeks. Let's have that discussion in just a second right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Lindsay, I've got a trick question for you. Is Monarch Money just a budgeting app?
Fun fact, it is not. It's a personal financial command center, Zac Blackerby.
Yes, you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you can just stop managing your money and start building wealth.
What
you have,
I love,
it gives you all sorts of insights, all in one convenience. It really combines a bunch of different apps that I've used in the past, all in one spot. An easy collaboration. I mean, a lot of times people managing money, there's somebody else that it impacts as well, a spouse, family member. Easy collaboration is easy to set up with Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Lindsay, that's half. That's half off. monarchmoney.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. When will Auburn become bowl eligible? I think it's going to be within the 3-week span of Arkansas versus Kentucky or at Vandy. I think that's kind of where we're at. Maybe against Missouri on October 18th. So let's go through our thought process here, because I don't think you and I are far off. Would you say that that's fair, that we're not far off?
I think we're close, but I think we have different endpoints on this.
All right. So at Baylor, right now I'm picking Auburn to win at Baylor in Wake.
Such little faith in Walker White.
Look, I don't think Walker White impacts this game. I like Walker a lot.
He's a good kid. But
when Baylor comes to Auburn, I think Walker will be a larger variable for sure next year.
There you go.
Ball State, South Alabama. So that puts us at 3.
Ball's not a state.
It's not a state. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ball is life.
Not a state.
Not a state. But still, they go by Ball State anyway. All right. So then my thought process is we're at 3 at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M versus Georgia. I think we get one of those 3.
The tough part here is you've got back-to-back on the road halfway across the country. Do we see Auburn just stay in Texas for a week? I mean, like, being serious, you have September 20th in Oklahoma and Norman, September 27th in College Station.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't make, does it make sense to fly the guys back for 3 or 4 days and then fly them back out there again?
My guess is probably because of the school thing, but I don't know.
They can do online classes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like a 2.5-hour flight. I can't imagine it's that big of a deal, right? Can't imagine it's that big of a deal.
Have the semis go from one to the other, though. The semis just stay out there and do all
that. Might be a different conversation for sure. All the equipment and stuff.
But anyway, 1 out of 3.
And then Georgia at home.
Too,
I don't think we go 0-3 in that stretch, which is the toughest stretch of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think we go 1-2. If you can go 2-1, oh my goodness, there's national implications if that were to happen.
You don't need to worry about the 16 seed if you go 2-1 in that stretch.
Yeah, I mean you're in the conversation for sure in mid-October. So through Georgia, so that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 games through the season, you're at 4. Is what I'm predicting.
Is what we're thinking is most likely. Yes, 4-2. We're on the same page here.
Missouri at home, I think we win.
Okay.
So we're at 5. And then you go to Arkansas. I think that's 6. So I think Auburn gets bowl eligible on October 25th, or if you drop one you're not supposed to, or that stretch of 3 brutal games gets you, you get bowl eligible against Kentucky at home on November 1st. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
2 things. One, you have to win on November 1st because it's Military Appreciation Day. So if Kentucky wins, they hate the troops. At Arkansas,
Sure.
listen, Gus Malzahn's available. Okay. You bring him in as a consultant for that week. Every time Gus Malzahn goes to Arkansas.
State.
Oh, that's right. He is. I'm sorry. That's right.
He's the OC. He stepped down to be the OC.
That's right. I forgot about that.
FSU.
Never mind. I was about to say, listen, bring Gus Malzahn in. It's a guaranteed win in Arkansas. That's how this works.
He'd probably still do it. He'd probably still do
do
it just because he hates them so much.
Maybe that's their bye week. I haven't looked yet. I completely forgot he's at Florida State.
It's easy to forget. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we're on the same page with this. Fun fact, that is Florida State's bye week, by the way.
Wow.
You could bring in Gus Malzahn for 1 week, help out your buddy Hugh Freeze, get Auburn Bowl eligible. Let's do it. Anyway, yeah, Missouri's your best case scenario. I think Arkansas or Kentucky's the most likely scenario.
Yeah.
Right. Talking about ceiling versus floor versus what's most likely to happen. Do you think it stretches into that Vanderbilt by Mercer range? Do you think it gets there? Like, what's the conversation like if it gets there? It's not bowl eligible. I'm sorry, it's not.
Let's discuss. So if it goes to Vandy or Mercer, if it goes to Mercer, you're having the conversation of you're only 1 game better than where you were a year ago at that point.
Yeah.
Which this team should be more than a game better, especially with this schedule, especially with this roster, especially with the finances that have been pumped into this program. I think that'd be concerning. But let's have the discussion if it goes to the Vandy game.
Okay.
Which would be the 9th game of the season.
That would mean probably a 1-2 stretch for Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky. What's the one you pick up in that stretch?
And you lose to Baylor.
Yeah.
So you
go 0-3 in that
you would need both of those things to happen, right? You would need to lose to Baylor and go 0-3.
Oh, gross.
Which is worst case scenario, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which also the other side of that coin, and why so many people, that want to be the negative Auburn fans that still watch this show every day, which blows my mind. But the other side of that coin is the worst case scenario, which is almost what last year was. Last year wasn't quite worst case, but you can make the argument it was close. Worst case scenario, you're still like a game, maybe 2 games better than last year. Like, I mean, we need to be better than that. Yeah. But still, like, okay, like we are going in the right direction. It's just been a lot slower than we've wanted it to be.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a step back there in year 2, but yeah. The group of Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, that's got to be a 2-win stretch. Like, I think that's just given where you finished last year. It's not the same conversation, but where you finished last year versus what you're trying to do to show improvement this year, that has to be a 2-win stretch. I don't think there's any way to sugarcoat that.
I view that as a 4-game stretch. Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy. I view all 4 of those as like
they're all on that same level. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you need to win 3 of those, really?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm predicting right now Auburn will be favored in all 4 of those games.
I think that tracks. I think if you're not favored, it's either on the road at Arkansas or Missouri somehow looks decent like they did, when they had Luther Burden. But it feels like, yeah, if you're not favored on one of those, it might potentially be Arkansas just because of the road factor, even though they weren't really good last year. I don't know what to make of Vanderbilt either.
Arkansas, man, like, is Pittman still their coach at that point? Or did they let him finish out the year?
If he's not, you're favored. If he's a dead man walking, you're also favored. But
Arkansas leading up.
What if we can be the team that fires Pittman? Gus would be so proud.
I think I did that show last year. Can we fire Sam Pittman? And then they beat us. It's like, yeah, yikes. So they play at Ole Miss. They'll lose that.
Yep.
At Memphis, I think they lose that.
Ooh.
Notre Dame. They got Notre Dame going to Fayetteville. I didn't realize that.
Wow.
They go to Tennessee and they host Texas A&M. I mean, there's a real shot at
He's
their
gone
5
by
games
then?
before they host us, they go like 1-4.
Oh, gross.
I mean, we're talking about a team that's already like the Arkansas fan base is over it. Like they're just like they seem almost shocked that Pittman's still there. I mean, we might be looking at a broken fan base when we go there.
Oh man.
So I think we win there.
Okay, yeah. All right,
think.
there you go.
I mean, I don't think it's a crazy thing.
I don't think I
say.
realized how bad that the schedule lined up for them. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then Missouri's tricky because like they lost so much, but they really like Bo Prabula, the backup Penn State quarterback that they dropped the bag for, and he's unproven. He's got traits that make sense. It's just he's unproven, and so just to assume that he's going to be better than what they had last year, I'm not quite there. I'm not quite there. Missouri lost both of their tackles. They were both draft picks. No one really wants to talk about that. They lost Luther Burton. They lost some edge rushers. Like, I don't know. I think they lost a ton. And they've been doing a good job when it comes to talent acquisition, but Missouri, this screams rebuilding year for Missouri. And you get them at home. You should have beat them on the road when they were at their best last year.
For the record, Missouri baseball is also rebuilding, and they took a belt to Texas A&M this weekend. So just heads up on that.
How many games did they win?
They won 2 of the 3. They won the series.
So what are they? 2 and
2 and everything. Yeah, 2 and everything. But like, I'm sorry. No, wait. I think they won all 3. Yeah, they swept that series. They swept in College Station. That's right. They are 3
college
and 24
baseball
in
is
conference.
so weird.
College baseball is
weird,
wild, dude. Yes. 9-6, 4-1, 10-1. Like Jim Schlossnagle was going to have nightmares about Missouri.
Wow, good for Missouri baseball. Both Missouri baseball fans, they needed that. So good for the two of them. Good for the two of them they still had. All right, hey, speaking of college baseball, Auburn swept. I mean, it was just nonstop scoring. So fun. And what's it mean for the postseason? The Tigers are in a prime spot for a national seed. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Lindsay Crosby, baseball's Lindsay Crosby, joining me as he does every single Monday. I mean, Auburn baseball scored at will against South Carolina over the weekend. And it's like South Carolina wanted to get it over as quick as possible. They played Thursday. They played 2 games back-to-back on a Friday. They went home. They were home before the weekend officially started. I mean, it happened so fast. But it was so explosive. So many different guys stepped up. So many different guys on the mound stepped up, Lindsay. I mean, this was a full, complete team performance, I think, in all 3 games.
Yeah, this was, I don't think people realize, this was 46-15 combined score for all 3 games. And if you take out the game 1 24-2 blowout, Auburn still outscored them 22-13.
Walk-off bunt in game 2. How often do you see that?
That is at least once. I have seen that one time. At least once. No, Eric, like, listen, Chris Rembert, we talked about him on one of your bonus shows, could be SEC Freshman of the Year. He's not even going to win SEC Player of the Week because Eric Guevara hit over 500 this week with multiple home runs. I mean, it was absurd.
Rembert's Thursday night though was ridiculous.
Oh yeah, he was 3 for 5. He had 6 RBI, and that was like through the first 3 or 4 innings. It was nuts. And here's the thing. You actually didn't get great performances from some of the guys you always do. Sam Dutton in game 2 goes 4 innings, 8 hits, 5 runs. It's like his worst start of the year. So didn't walk anybody.
Good point.
He doesn't do that. But you still won that on the walk-off bunt 11-10, right? You look at Christian Chatterton in game 3. He goes 2 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs. But Griffin Graves and Dylan Watts combined for 7 scoreless innings of relief. Like,
so what do you make of that? Like, oh, okay, good. They're off starts. You get bailed out, so that's great. Or do you say, oh, hopefully this doesn't set up a trend or a streak for those guys?
Yeah, for me, it's one of those things. Look at the weekend before in Tennessee, right? You had somebody go short, Christian Chatterton, only like 3 innings. Kate Fisher comes in 4 innings of relief. They win that one easily. It's situations like that. When everybody's on, it's just domination like you saw in game 1, where you combine Cam Tilly goes 5 innings, 1 run. Ben Shore gives you 2 innings of 1-run ball. They combine to strike out 9, and you win in a run rule. When they're not on, like in game 2, because this offense is relentless, you score 5 runs early. They scored 3 in the 6th. They scored again in the 9th to get the walk-off. Even with a bad start from their ace, Sam Dutton, they still win the game 11-10. The ranch is safe, Zach.
Yeah,
Dutton's
he defended the ranch. Thank goodness the rest of his teammates were there to help him defend his ranch.
He fell off the horse a little bit, and the other guys picked him up.
That's fine. That's fine. The Dutton Ranch is safe, and that's all that really matters.
But that's what it tells me, is that even if one guy's off, the team as a whole is playing well.
Quick rule change proposal, and then I want to talk about what this means moving forward.
Okay.
In college baseball or baseball in general, if you score 20 runs, the game should be over. You win.
They kind of have that via the run rule. Like if the other team scores 18, we're going to keep playing. But this game ended after 7 because Auburn was up by 20 plus runs.
But if you score 20,
once you hit 20, done no matter what.
That should be the last inning. The other team's not coming back. Because you and I were texting, it's like, who benefits from this? Both teams' pitching situations get nuked, or you've got to leave a guy out there whose ERA is going to be ruined for the rest of his career. Like, what do you get out of it?
His son's going to be born with a 7 ERA. I will say,
Dad, I just looked up my I got a page on ESPN. Why? I've got no innings pitched, but my ERA is a 7. What's going on, Dad?
Well, son,
they left me
blasted by Auburn
in a 4th inning. We were down 18 to 3. Yeah.
Here's the reason you can't do it. Okay. You can't just say 20 runs, it's over. Chicago Cubs 26, Philadelphia Phillies 23. That happened. And the score at one point in time in that game was 25-6 Cubs. That's why you can't just
that's
the game
crazy.
With 20 runs.
That's crazy.
49 runs.
I don't know. I don't know if that's enough.
And that's the pro.
And I'm not fully being serious here, but it's tough to watch when it's
funny.
It's like that. Okay, so as far as what this means moving forward, let's assume they play against Jack State on Tuesday. There's some chatter that they may cancel it because it doesn't help you from an RPI standpoint. As we record this, Auburn has the number 3 RPI in college baseball.
2.
We just up to 2.
It just updated like 10 minutes ago as we record this.
The number 2 team in college baseball, as far as
RPI wise. Yeah.
So let's assume they play Jack State, whatever.
Okay.
Last week we talked about against South Carolina against Ole Miss, 4-2. Do you still stand by that with 3 of them coming against South Carolina?
You obviously can still go 4-2. I still think that's the minimum, right? You need to win 1 of 3 at Ole Miss. But really, here's the thing. If you win 2 more games against Ole Miss, that puts you conference record-wise at 18-12. You, no matter what happens in the SEC tournament, you are a national seed. You'll have I think if you get that and Georgia wins at least 1 game this weekend, you'll get a top 4 seed for the SEC tournament. You'll get a double bye. But if you are an 18-win SEC team with an RPI of number 2, you are a national seed no matter what happens in Hoover. And that is the ideal scenario. Because at the end of the day, as terrible as this sounds, the SEC tournament does not matter. Who cares? The goal is to make it to Omaha. And having a national seed will give you every opportunity because you have home field advantage for the regionals and the supers, and somebody has to travel in on short notice to meet you and play you. So you win 2 in Oxford, you're Gucci.
Yeah, Ole Miss lost 2 in Starkganistan last weekend. I asked you the question last week, would Ole Miss need this series more? It almost feels like they're going to be a 3 seed no matter what now.
It is tough for them to improve, but they do have the SEC tournament though. Like that is the difference for them. They are 14-13 in conference, but they can make a run in the tournament. So they
especially if they were to like take 2 or 3 against Auburn, like
exactly
that
would put them at 16 wins. You win 2 games in the tournament, they can probably get into at least a high number 2 seed. So they have something to play for. Auburn technically needs to win 1, but again, you win 2, and Butch Thompson's teams are going to overlook an opponent. You win 2, right, and you are set no matter what happens in Hoover, and that's the ideal scenario because Hoover's always weird in May. Rain delays, you're playing games at 2 a.m, all that weird stuff. Just win 2 in Oxford, you're set.
Yeah. Fun. This team is so fun. This team is so fun. I can't wait to watch them again. So, Lindsay, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
I'm on social media at Crosby Baseball. If it's Auburn Baseball, The Barn Auburn, and The Barn Baseball Show, me excited to share a Brad Law. Great stuff there. If you're a Braves fan, Braves Today, both the podcast and a newsletter at bravestoday.com, as well as the postcast with Locked On Sports Atlanta and Locked On Braves after every single Braves game.
Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.